Mitzvah 248, positive commandment, the laws of inheritance. This is found in the portion of Pinchas. And therefore the Torah says, Ish ki yamos uvein ein loi, if a man will die and he has no sons. From here we derive the laws of inheritance, that first of all, a Bukhar, a firstborn child, gets a double portion. And if there are no sons, then the daughters receive their inheritance. As it says, pertain to the Bnei Sulafchad, the daughters of Sulafchad. They went to Moshe and they said, Lama Yigara, why should we lose out our father's inheritance? And Moses goes before God and God says they are right, they are correct. And therefore they do receive the inheritance of their father. What is the remez, the hint? The Rebbe once asked, when a child learns this mitzvah and he sees the mitzvah of inheritance, he says, number one, I'm a child, I have many more years to live. Number two is, a child believes with complete faith that Mashiach is coming today. So if Mashiach is coming today and there won't be any more death in the world, why do we need this mitzvah of inheritance? And furthermore, the Rambam says he only enumerates a mitzvah that is eternal for all generations. And if this mitzvah is eternal, then the question now is even stronger, why do we need this mitzvah after Mashiach comes? And the answer is that the Yerusha, the inheritance here, is the spiritual inheritance. We tell every child, and this is also a halacha in the code of Jewish law, that when a child begins to speak, the first thing you teach him is not Abba and Ima, Daddy and Mami, but the first thing we teach a child when he's able to speak is Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe, Meirasha Kilas Yaakov, the Torah that Moses gave us on Sinai. This Torah is truly an inheritance to every Jewish child. And therefore, the mitzvah of inheritance is really to teach every person and to teach each child to protect your inheritance and to cherish your inheritance and to respect your inheritance. And that is by learning the Torah and understanding the Torah well, and ultimately bringing the Torah down into action by fulfilling all the mitzvos of the Torah. What is the drush? What is the homiletics? It says that in the last tractate, in the last Mishnah of the tractates of the Mishnayos, it says, Osid HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the future, God will inherit to every tzaddik, to every righteous person, 310 worlds. And then we find a similar statement in the tractate of Sanhedrin that in the future God will give each tzaddik 310 worlds. So the question comes to mind, if a person is a tzaddik, which means a person is a righteous person in this world, and they follow the Torah and they do the mitzvahs, so God will reward us in the world to come, because ultimately the schar, the reward of mitzvah, is not in this world. The reward for doing good deeds is in the world to come. And God is going to therefore inherit to every righteous person 310 worlds of pleasures and gold and silver, etc., etc. So the question comes to mind, it makes sense that God will give us for doing mitzvahs, for doing good deeds. But why will God inherit to us? Inheritance is something that you don't deserve, you just receive because you are a child. And therefore the Rebbe explains that there's two levels of gifts. One type of gift God will give us because of the fact that we do good things and we follow the Torah and we do the 613 commandments of the Torah, the 248 positive commandments and the 365 negative commandments. And because we have to sacrifice many good things in this world to be able to do all of these good acts of kindness, so therefore God will reward us in the world to come, that no matter how much pleasure we could derive in this world, He's going to give us 310 worlds of pleasure. But that is true for the reward. In addition to the reward, as a child of God, because of the fact that God loves each and every one of us, as we are called Banim Atem LaHashem Elokeichem, you are children of God, your Lord. And because of this love that God has for us, He is going to give us, in addition to the reward for the mitzvah, He's also going to give us the inheritance. That just like a father gives a child an inheritance, so too He's going to give us an inheritance of these 310 worlds. What is the idea of Soid, the esoteric? It's interesting that this mitzvah is mitzvah 248. It's not mitzvah 247. It's not mitzvah 249. Everything has a specific place where it's found, and therefore the number itself gives us insight to the mitzvah. What is 248? We find that it says pertaining to Pinchas, when he saw Zimri sinning with the Midianite woman, it says that he took a sword, he took a spear, a roimach. Roimach is 248. In other words, in Hebrew, the letters Reish Mem Ches could spell 248, or it could spell a spear. It says he took a spear and he ended the life of Zimri and the Midianite woman. Says the Zohar, why did he take the spear? What did he see? So it says in Kabbalah that he saw the letter Mem. He saw the letter Mem in the sky with blood in it. And he was concerned that the letter Mem should not connect itself with Vav and Taf, which would be Mav's death. So therefore he took the Mem and he connected it to Reish and Ches, which is Roimach, and he brought an end to the plague that fell upon the Jewish people for sinning with the Midianite women. What is 208? We're told that 208 represents Yitzchak, is the gematria of Yitzchak. For Pinchas was a reincarnation of Yitzchak, of Isaac. And just like Isaac put his life down for God on the altar, he was willing to die for God, so too Pinchas was willing to die for God. What does all of this mean? The letter Mem alludes to Torah. For Mem has the gematria of 40. Torah was given in 40 days and 40 nights on Sinai. However, there are two types of Torah. There's the revealed Torah and the concealed Torah. The esoteric Torah and the exoteric Torah. When you have the revealed Torah alone, it's possible that it brings about death. Because Torah alone could bring arrogance, and therefore it says the Gemara, if a person is loy zeicha, or loy zacha, if a person does not merit, which means he's not refined, then the Torah becomes a samamavis, becomes a pill of death. However, im zacha, if a person is refined, then the Torah becomes the pill of life. There are two types of mem, the open mem and the closed mem. The open mem represents the revealed Torah, the closed mem represents the concealed Torah. And therefore, by connecting the mem with Yitzchak, which alludes to the closed mem, he now is able to close the mem of Torah, to bring about the revealed, to reveal the concealed aspect of Torah, and therefore bring true life and true healing to the world. And that is the idea of Reish Mem Ches, Mitzvah 248, dealing with the inheritance of Torah, to realize that we inherited not only the revealed Torah, but every Jew also inherited the secrets of the Torah, the teachings of Kabbalah, and the teachings of Chassidus. What does Chassidus say about inheritance? So we asked the question earlier, what are we going to do with this mitzvah when Mashiach comes? We find every day in the liturgy, we say, Ashreinu matoiv chalkeinu, umanoyim goydaleinu, umayafa yerushaseinu. We say that we are fortunate that we have for our part, for our piece, for our portion. We are happy about our lot and our inheritance. So there are three things. There's the inheritance, we have a lot, like a lottery, and we have a portion. What's the difference between these three things? The idea of Yerusha, the idea of inheritance, is the concept of love and fear. Every Jew, being that we are children of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and Sarah, Rivka, Rochav, and Leah, we inherited a spiritual gene. And that is the spiritual gene that every Jew has and every convert has. And that is a gene that automatically we believe in God, and furthermore that we love God and we have respect for God. This is something that is inherited to every one of us through our forefathers, our spiritual forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. This is our Yerusha. This is our inheritance. However, it's not enough that we have this as an inheritance, but also it has to become our chelik, our portion, which means that we have to bring this down intellectually into our mind and into our heart. And furthermore, we also have to bring this into our goydel, into our lottery. And that is the Yechidah Shebenefesh, which is to a level of self-sacrifice. So even though we have within our heart that we feel, I love God and I love Judaism, but it also needs to come down into reality by performing the mitzvah, by studying the Torah, and sanctifying every day time to devote yourself to God. Furthermore, we find an interesting thing that the Rogatchover tells us, that the inheritor is in the place of the testator. In other words, when a child inherits the money of the father, it's not like a transaction that you go into a store and you want to buy an iPhone. So you pay a few $100s and now you own the iPhone. Till now it belonged to Apple or to Verizon, whoever it was. And now that you bought it, it changes the hands of the seller to the buyer. When it comes to inheritance, we say that it doesn't change from one hand to the other. But on the contrary, the inheritor now is in the shoes of the testator. And this concept applies to Torah as one, by the fact that we know that Torah was inherited to every Jew. And similarly, every Jew stood at Sinai, and every convert that would convert later also stood at Sinai. So therefore, each one of us is now one with God. And that is the meaning that we have the inheritance, that not only that God gave us the Torah, but we are truly standing in the shoes together with God. What does that mean practically? Practically, it means when we study Torah, it's not that we are an independent individual and we're studying God's Torah, but there's a concept of Tal L'Shonim L'Secha, that my tongue answers and repeats your word. The proper way of studying Torah is through humility. And the highest level of studying Torah is that I am simply a funnel for God, that God feeds me the words and I am responding to God. Not that I understand Torah, I'm so smart, it's me and it's I, which is about ego, but on the contrary, Torah brings a person to humility. And therefore that is the meaning of Yerusha. So we hope and pray that we will truly see this Yerusha, this inheritance that God gives each and every one of us with the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days.